I think we are live. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, Total Fitness Bodybuilders. Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, November the 3rd. And hopefully, this is coming through loud and clear, and you can see me and hear me and all that stuff. So, as you're popping onto our live stream, please let me know in the comment section if this is coming through. Because I know some of the regulars to our live streams will notice I'm trying a different camera setup. I used this once before and it actually worked well. Tried to use it last week, couldn't get the connection to work, so I scrapped it. And I'm trying a new setting again. So fingers crossed this is coming through. Hopefully you can hear me and see me, and this is coming through good on your end, because obviously that's what's most important. Right? I don't want to be talking to dead air. So let me know in our comments there in the chat window if this is working on your end. All right. And again, welcome to the video chat. Right, there we go. Okay, good. I just wanted to get that first loud and clear coming through. Appreciate it, JE. That lets me know that this is not all for nos. Okay, so let's get the show underway. First off, welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat. This is something that I do every Friday as a way to basically connect and help out, right? It's a way for us to interact and share. And the way it works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, anything you want to discuss with regards to your workouts, with your nutrition plan, supplementation, building muscle, losing fat, fitness and nutrition stuff, right? If you want to ask opinions on different training programs or nutrition plans, feel free to do so, and we can open up a conversation about that. But bottom line, this is an opportunity to just kind of shoot the breeze when it comes to health and wellness and fitness nutrition topics, and do so in a safe and secure environment. Like I always say this, there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? You know, when I always regret it when I say that, because people then go out of their way to find stupid questions. But generally speaking, if it's a legitimate question that you have and it's something you're concerned about, post it in there. Let us know, right? Post the question in there and we'll discuss it. And because if you've got a question related to something, there's probably somebody else out there who has a similar question as well. So by posting it there and bringing it out to the open and actually talking about it, we could be helping a lot of people. So feel free to post anything that you have questions and comments, and anything that you want to discuss, feel free to do so in our chat window, and I'll do the best to help you out over the course of our video chat today. Now, with that being said, I don't claim to be a know-it-all. Never have, and I'm very humble about it. Even though I've been in the fitness game for over 30 years and have been helping literally thousands of people online and hundreds of people in person, I don't claim to know it all, right? I mean, I always still approach this with an open mind. I always like to approach with the beginner's mind. That's the word I'm using. I'm looking for the beginner's mind, because when you approach things with the beginner's mind, you're open to possibilities. You're open to improvement. You're open to new ways of doing things and actually improving. Whereas if you have that, I know it all, I know what to do, and you kind of like have that closed-minded, that's when you shut off the growth process. And I don't want to do that. I am constantly learning and evolving, and still working on that self-improvement journey with my own health and fitness. And I hope to help encourage you to do the same as well. So, of course, throughout our video chat here today, I'll be doing the best I can to help you out. But if there's something that I can't help you with, maybe it's something that's outside my scope of expertise or I have no experience with, then I'll probably be able to link you up with someone who can help you, point you in the right direction, because I've got a big network of people in the fitness industry, colleagues, friends, and coaches, and medical professionals who can probably, point you in the right direction to someone who can help you if there's a particular challenge you're dealing with that I'm not qualified to tackle. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. All right. So first off, let me know where you're tuning in from. Again, we've got JE joining in. We have Mick from the UK, says it's coming through. Awesome. Oh, we have the last fake natty. He says, it's my B-day today. Well, happy birthday. And he says, have a blessed day, sir. And thank you again for all the helpful info over the years. What was your son for Halloween this year? Well, first off, thank you for sponsoring the video chat. Much appreciated. It's your birthday. I feel like I should be, it should be going the other way, but I'll certainly do my best to offer some value throughout our video chat today. What was Harvey for Halloween? Harvey was ghost face. That's what Harvey was. The long face ghost mask. That's what he was this year. And he had a great Halloween, right? Went out trick-or-treating with one of his friends from school. We kind of did our street and we did his friend's street and we got around and he's got tons of junk. There's chips and candies and all that. And you know what? This is something I actually want to address here. He has a lot of junk food, but he's not obsessed about it. Like he'll have some, but we don't put any limits on junk food, especially for him at his age, because I've seen this work both ways, where sometimes parents who are health and fitness conscious, they sometimes try and be super strict with their children. Like, oh, my kid's not going to eat junk food. My kid's not going to have that. And they kind of have this no, 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 no. And then they never expose their kids to junk food when they're at home. And then when they get older and they get out in the real world and now they're exposed to it through their friends and whatever social environment they get into, then it's like, whoa, it's like, stimulation overload, all that sugar, all that, the stuff that they haven't been having, throughout their whole life. And sometimes they go overboard with it. And I've seen that happen. And I actually have friends of mine, relatives in that, who are teachers, and they've seen this over and over again, like primary school teachers who've had the parents who are like the super strict fitness parents, like, oh no, my kid's not having junk food. No, 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 no. And then when they do get older, right, they go hog wild and they just totally go off the deep end. Whereas we want to expose Harvey to junk food, but do so in moderation. And so far, so good, because it's pretty interesting. Like I know, like he'll sometimes have a bag of chips or a pack of crisps. If you're in the US and North America, it's chips. If you're over in the UK, it's crisps. But you know what I'm talking about, the snack food, right? He'll have a bag of chips or crisps, and sometimes he won't even finish them all. I'm talking about the little Halloween bags, right? The little tiny ones. Like he'll have a few and say, okay, I'm done. Right? He'll sometimes have a candy, like he had a lollipop the other day from his trick-or-treat bag, sucked down for a little while and said, nah, I'm done. So he gets it out of his system, but we don't put scarcity around it. We're like, oh, you're not allowed to have that, or kind of create this taboo environment around junk food. It's like, it's there if you want it, but it's not a big deal. And what we find often happens is he'll have a little bit, kind of get the craving out of his system, and he's like, move on. And we just keep it at that very neutral state. And I find when it's neutral like that, it doesn't create a problem. Like he eats until he's comfortably full and then fine, stop eating. And that's the way he treats his meals. Like when he's eating his food for normal, like sitting down to the supper table or whatever, like we don't say, make sure to finish everything on your plate or you're not allowed to leave the table. You got to, eat everything on your plate because there's kids starving in Africa, right? You eat everything on your plate. Well, that's what we were told when we were kids growing up. And if I eat everything on my plate, it ain't helping anybody who's in a starving third world country, right? Sorry, right? All it's doing is making me uncomfortable, and it's excess calories on my plate and making me fat in the process. And it also messes with your whole hunger fullness signals. So with Harvey, once he's finished his meal, like if he could have half his plate still there and he says, I'm full, we say, that's fine. You stop eating. I don't want you to eat beyond fullness. You eat until you're comfortably full and stop. And he takes that to his treats as well. He'll have a little bit of candy or maybe a few chips or something like that, or even some cookies. And a lot of times he doesn't even finish it all, right? He'll have like a cookie and like, I'm done. Or last night he had, he wanted an ice cream bar, one of those little, Greek yogurt ice cream bars is what it was. He ate half of it and he said, I don't want the rest of it. So, give me a bowl or something. And he put it in a bowl and it just melted in the bowl then. But I love that. I love how he's able to just eat enough to get the craving out of his system, and kind of, he can satisfy the craving, forget about it, and then move on. And that's one of the strategies that I actually teach my Muscle After 40 coaching students when we're covering nutrition, is you don't want to put foods off limits. Because if I say you're not allowed to have this, like you're not allowed to have ice cream ever again, or you're not allowed to have pizza ever again, or you're not allowed to have chips ever again, all of a sudden you're like, shit, I want ice cream, pizza, and chips, because it feels scarce because you're not allowed to have it all of a sudden. So that's I want to avoid that extreme scarcity mentality and feel like, you know what, you can have it whenever you want, but don't make a big deal of it, right? Have it satisfy the craving and then forget about it and move on. And that's the way that we do it. And I find that it works really well for managing things without feeling like you're on a diet or without feeling like you're depriving yourself in the process. But that's a little different. I know you were just asking what his costume was, but I wanted to talk about how he's handling the Halloween treats as well as the Halloween costume. And so far, it seems to be working well. All right, who else we got joining in? We have Robert is joining in. Welcome, Robert. YT join in. See some regulars here. We have Steve Mercer. And Steve, this is coming up as a new member. Well, congratulations. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in for our live video Q&A. And I know Steve. He's part of our Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, and he's actually a local guy. He's a fellow Newfoundlander. So welcome, Steve. Glad to have you joining in as well. All right. Who else we have there? Cool Gamer is joining in. Welcome. Yay, I'm in. Just joined the channel. Yes. Good stuff. Lee Dunnigan coming in. Lee's a regular over in the UK. Welcome, Lee. Love the old man training video you did during the week. I wonder, can I share that on this? It's only a 1 minute clip, but oh god, it's worth it. Let's just see. I posted this. Let me go to YouTube. I'll just show that you just go to my YouTube channel and go to the shorts. Let's see if I can actually share this. I should be able to. It's worth it. It really is. And it'll only take a minute and you'll get a giggle. Share screen, share screen, share screen, share screen. There we go. All right. Is that coming through? Hopefully it is. All right. Okay. I'll make that a little bigger. There. Okay. I'm going to hide your comment there. And here was the clip. Where was it? You got to watch this.
We're going to go to the gym now, get a workout in. Gotta keep fit.
This is what I was for Halloween.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm sure you've probably seen some people at the gym resembling this.
Age is only a number. As young as you.
Oh, that was hilarious. I posted a full-length clip of that over on my Facebook because YouTube Shorts only allow you to post the 60-second, but there's like a 4-minute clip of the extended theatrical version, if you will, of the old man at the gym. And that was like my most popular Facebook reel ever. And I have a feeling I might be bringing him back. I think that would make for some cool videos. And I'm thinking that this is my thoughts on it. Like, kind of film it in such a way where it's a two-way conversation where I'm coaching the old man. So here I am talking as me, and then I'm over here talking as the old man, and then piece it together in such a, the magic of video editing. I think I could pull that off, and it'd make for some cool videos. But yeah, he was a hit. He was a hit at the gym, and he was a hit on social media afterwards. Even the gym took that video and shared it on their social media page because they got such a kick out of it. It's fun. It's all fun. And unfortunately, we're if we're lucky enough, we're all gonna get to that point at some time. The old man at the gym. There we go. Who else we got? Let's do. Says excellent. I'm glad it was a memorable experience for everyone. Yes, it was indeed. All right, Mick is okay. Here's I think the first question of the day. Bring it on. And again, if I haven't mentioned this already, For those of you who are new to the video chat, post your questions, topics of discussion, anything you want to discuss related to fitness and nutrition into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out. So let's get her going. Mick says, going to start a 4-day split, upper, lower, rest day, twice per week. Advice, please, regarding volume and intensity. All right, that's a great question. And the answer is one that it's accurate, but it's one that you probably don't want to hear. And it depends. The volume and intensity, it depends on you, your fitness level, your current experience, what it is you're training for, your schedule, your recovery, all that kind of stuff. So it's not like there's a one size fits all cookie cutter where okay, if I'm doing a 4-day split, I got to do 20 sets per workout and I got to do 10 reps and 3 sets and blah, blah. No, it's not this cookie cutter. What I recommend is starting off conservative. So the idea with your workouts is when you're starting a new routine, start off with something that is manageable, something that you know full well that you can handle and recover from, and stay within your limits. And then each week, you simply try to do better than you did the week before. That's it, right? That's your progressive overload. Always start conservative. So the first week into the gym, into the new routine, it shouldn't be daunting. It shouldn't be this ball busting routine. And this is something that pisses me off with personal trainers is a lot of times they think if they take a new client and have them go through the gym and they're painfully sore and ready to puke, and like the more they beat them up, the better job they think they did. And that is total hogwash. It's your goal is not to kill your clients in the gym as a personal trainer. And the goal for you should not be to just beat up your body when you're training. The goal is to stimulate. The goal is to stimulate muscle growth and try to make progress in a gradual, progressive overload fashion. And to steal a quote from former Mr. Olympia Lee Haney, he had this phrase that it's stood the test of time: stimulate, not annihilate. That's our goal with training, is to stimulate, meaning just do enough to get the job done, but not annihilate it. You don't need to go overkill. So with your volume, start off conservative. Maybe you are going to do for the upper lower workout, probably choose like 1 exercise per muscle group, do 3 to 4 sets, somewhere in that 8 to 12 repetition range, and just choose moderate weights and kind of go through the motions, kind of lay the bench work, get comfortable with the new routine and the exercises and how it all feels. If it feels good and it felt easy, that's great. Next workout, do a little bit better. Either increase the weight by 5 pounds, probably try to get an extra rep per set. If the volume feels a little low, like you come to the end of the workout and you say, you know what, I think I could have done more, maybe throw in an extra exercise. And if you do have some stubborn body parts, you can add in extra exercises for those stubborn body parts. And if you have stronger body parts that respond really well, maybe you want to put those on the back burner and put them on more of a maintenance phase so that you can prioritize the stubborn body parts. Like that's one of the strategies used in the Blast Your Biceps program, which I mentioned that in one of my email newsletters and probably mentioned it on one of our video chats not too long ago. But that's a specialization program. And that's the primary principle behind that, is to prioritize the areas that need the most focus, and then the areas that are your strongest, put them on a maintenance program. So this is something that you can do and evolve as you're going through your workout. So you kind of start off with the base level program, right? The basic template, your upper lower body split. And then as you're going through it, you can customize it as you go. And this is where having a coach in your corner can really help. Someone who has the experience, who's been there and done it, and can help you to tweak it and see, okay, this is going well, this isn't going well. So let's the things that are going well, let's put that on the back burner. And the things that need the extra priority, let's give them the extra priority and help you target your workouts accordingly. And this is something that I do with my Muscle After 40 coaching students all the time. We're always evolving their program as they go. And this is something that you need to realize up front is there's no perfect program, right? Like you could go out and get the best fitness coach, the best strength and conditioning coach, the best, even when it comes to nutrition, you could hire the best nutritionists and dietitians and everybody else. All they're going to do is give you an educated guess on what they think is going to work based on their experience. That's it, right? It's just Okay, here's your situation. It's kind of similar to some situations I've dealt with in the past. This is what I think we should do. Let's try it out. And then you start trying it out. But where the actual coaching and customization takes place is in that ongoing follow-up and feedback. It's you did this. All right. What kind of results did we get from it? Are we happy with those results? If we are, great. Let's keep doing more of that. If we're not, then let's go back to the drawing board, make some changes, and try out a new approach. And it's always this back and forth conversation where we're trying something new, we're evaluating how well it works. And if it works, we keep it. If it doesn't work, then we modify it and we try something else. And we're constantly going through this split testing, if you will. We're constantly split testing your workouts to see what's going to give you the best results over time. And we're looking for that slow, steady, progressive progress. That's what we're looking for. And, as far as the volume and intensity, start low and build it up week by week. And I would encourage for your first week, it should not be a ball busting, gut wrenching workout. You should not be feeling painfully sore and gasping for air and, feeling like you've been hit by a truck after a workout. If you did, that's overkill. You should actually finish the workout and say, you know what? I could have done more if I had to. Like that felt actually relatively easy. And that's okay. It's okay to do an easy workout. Like all this nonsense that you hear, like people saying, no pain, no gain, go big or go home, right? Don't be a pussy, man up, all that piss and vinegar BS. It sounds good and it makes wonderful social media memes, but that's not reality. When you start to look at elite level athletes, they do a lot of sub-maximal workouts. It's what the term that's used in a lot of training now is polarized training, where a lot of their training is done at sub-maximal efforts, building that base, building the foundation. And then when they do high intensity efforts, they go really hard. They will try for the new personal best and they'll push themselves. But a lot of the times, probably upwards of 80%, it's not maximum. They're not emptying the tank every time they go to the gym. Right? They're building that foundation, working on skills and technique and all those, these key elements. And then when they do push themselves, they're going to push themselves hard. Yes. But that's done infrequently. And very often it's somewhere in that ratio of, 80, 20, 70, 30, somewhere like that, where the majority of your workouts are sub-maximal. And then only a small percentage, 20 to 30%, are where you're going to go, full gas, if you will, empty the tank. And that's a good mindset to keep into your training. So get comfortable with doing sub-maximal workouts and realize it's not a waste of time. It's actually building your foundation and building you better. And this is what leads to long-term sustainability. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see with new people to the gym, especially when someone is super motivated and full of piss and vinegar motivated, like sometimes they say, oh man, that's it. I'm sick and tired of being fat in that shape. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make a change now. And they get, this short wave of motivation comes over them and they try to do it all at once. And then they go too hard, too soon, burn themselves out and end up quitting. Right? It's almost like someone trying to sprint their way through a marathon, right? Like you think, well, okay, I got this 26-mile race. I'm just going to run as hard as I can right from the start and get it done and over with. Well, it doesn't work that way. If anybody has any endurance training experience at all, if you go sprinting as hard as you can right from the start, how far are you going to go? You're probably not even going to make the first mile, and then you'll be gassed and ready to quit. Whereas if you paced yourself, heck, even if you walked, you'd have a much higher likelihood of actually finishing and completing the task versus if you tried to sprint your way to the finish. So same applies with your workouts. You need to be willing to go easy at the beginning and stay consistent over the long term. And this is where my phrase being good enough, but good enough consistently comes from. Instead of this all in, balls to the wall, go big or go home, no pain, no gain approach, where, yeah, you go all in for a few weeks or maybe even a few months, and then eventually you burn out or you get injured and you can't keep going anymore. And then you quit in frustration. Actually, one of my coaching students shared something with me that I want to share with you here. I posted it up on my personal Facebook group. I'm going to just grab it real quick. It's a great analogy to really drive this home. Just give me a moment. Where was that? Here it is. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me. Present, share screen, Share screen. All these little buttons I got to click to get a screen share to come up. There. Oh, maybe move that question there. Sorry. Look at this. This is a great analogy of the all-in versus the good enough, but good enough consistently approach. Like most people come into it and they want to just balls to the wall, go big right from the start. Like, I'm going to do this big, massive workout. I'm going to kill myself in the gym, go hard. And yeah, that's what they do. Or the same with nutrition. Like, I'm going to go on this crazy hardcore cutting diet, cut out all junk food, slash my calories, create this massive calorie deficit, right? They want to go big right at the start. And then what happens is you start to burn out. I'm like, oh, I can't keep going at that pace. And then I can't keep going at that pace. And eventually you fuzzle off and you quit, right? This is what most people do. And this leads to the whole yo-yo diet syndrome in the short term where, yeah, you kill yourself for a few weeks or a few months and then you fizzle off and then you do jack shit for the rest of the year. Whereas if you do a little bit, you start off conservative where you do your workout and you know what? Hey, that was easy. I can do that again. And you keep doing it again. You keep doing it again. You keep doing it again. And, week after week, month after month, year after year, that's what leads to a long-term physique transformation without feeling like you're suffering it out. And this is what we follow. This is, a template, if you will, of how the Muscle After 40 blueprint works, right? It's good enough, but it's good enough consistently versus this all-in, balls of the wall program where you're occasionally great, and then you fizzle off. Right? We want to be consistently good versus occasionally great. Consistently good leads to long-term success, not this, perfect approach where you can't sustain it. So try and, again, this is brilliant, but it's so simple, but visualize this. And if you can wrap your head around this approach and be in it for the long game, that's where real sustainable change happens. The truth of the matter is nobody's making an incredible transformation in a few weeks or a few months or anything like that. It takes years, right? I've made videos about this before. Anybody that you admire in the fitness industry or heck for anything in that matter, any sport, hobby, activity, the people you look up to and admire, I mean, we're going to kind of stick to fitness because that's what we're talking about here, but it applies to every aspect. They haven't just been doing it for a few weeks or a few months. They've been doing it for years, very often decades, even some cases. Like even the young guys, like you go on Instagram and you see some of these young YouTubers and social media influencers and stuff. Even someone who say like a 25-year-old, someone who's in the gym and they're ripped and jacked, and you're like, holy shit, what are they doing? They probably started in their mid-teens. So they, by the time they're in their mid-20s, they still got a decade of experience under their belt, right? It didn't happen, in a 6-week shred or something like that, right? It didn't happen overnight. It took years. Consistency for years. And if you can wrap your head around that, like I'm not just doing this for a few weeks or a few months or whatever, this is the lifestyle and I'm in it for the long haul and enjoying it for the long haul. Once you wrap your head around it like that, that's when this miraculous transformation takes place. Because then people are going to look at you in 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now and say like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you taking? What's going on with you? And it's like, I'm not doing anything crazy. It's just, I'm good enough, but I'm good enough consistently. Whereas if you're bad enough and you're bad enough consistently, then you're going to end up being overweight and out of shape and riddled with health problems. And that's the reality, right? Like you look at anybody who's gained weight or gotten out of shape. It's not like they purposely tried to. Like nobody just says, oh, I'm going to try and gain 50 pounds in the next 3 months and just eat all the crap and junk I can. No, they make a little bad decision here and a little bad decision here, and they skip a workout here and they skip a workout there. And it's like, oh, I'm too tired. I'll start again next week. And they keep procrastinating and making all these little bad decisions, but the little bad decisions keep going over and over again. And then they look at themselves, after a year, they put on 10 pounds. No big deal. It's only 10 pounds. I can always lose it later. Another year, they put on another 10 pounds. Still no big deal. I can get it under control. That keeps going on year after year after year, right? 10 years later, right? You got a wife and kids and family and responsibilities, and you're 100 pounds overweight, and you're like, what the hell happened? Right? Like, who's that fat slob looking back at me in the mirror? That's how it happens, right? It's consistency in the wrong direction, but it compounds and it leads to devastating results. We just want to tweak it so we have consistency in the right direction. So instead of slowly getting worse, you're slowly getting better. And that's the key to long-term sustainability. It's not the extreme approach where you're trying to force it. You're just being good enough, but good enough consistently and letting it happen. All right, so I know that was a long-winded answer to a to a relatively short question, but hopefully it was helpful. So that was mixed question there. Let's see who else we got. Eagle Eye John joining in. And John's having a cup of coffee in his avatar, and I'm having one here. Decaf coffee, by the way. I always drink decaf in the evenings. I drink regular coffee in the AM, and I drink decaf in the PM because I don't want to be overly caffeinated in the PM. John saying, Lee, why are my arms still not growing? Been 13 and a half arms long time. Should I work on triceps more? All right, that's a loaded question because first off, I don't know what you're doing as far as training and nutrition and blah, 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 blah. But why are your arms not growing? Should you work on triceps more? Well, the triceps make up the majority of your arm size. So if you're trying to stretch the tape measure and build bigger arms, the triceps are the bulk of the meat of the arm. The biceps, there's two muscles, the triceps there's three, hence bis and tris. There's more muscle mass, about 60+% of your arm mass is the triceps. So if you're looking to stretch the tape measure, build up those triceps. And what you'll also find is when you strengthen agonist and antagonist muscles, it helps the overall body grow. So if you want bigger biceps, getting bigger triceps will help support bigger biceps. If you want a bigger chest, getting a bigger back will help support a bigger chest. Like you want to work things in balance and proportion. You see this all the time in sports and athletics as well. Like, for example, like in powerlifting, a lot of guys who are bench press specialists and they want a big bench press, they do a lot of training for their back because that is the agonist and it helps to lay a better foundation to increase their bench press, right? So they do a lot of rows and a lot of back work to strengthen and thicken up their back, which then in turn helps to create a better foundation to bench press off and helps improve their bench press. So working agonist and antagonist muscle groups and movement patterns is critical if you want to maximize your progress and also remain injury-free. So yeah, definitely working on the triceps more. At least 50-50, like bicep exercise followed by tricep exercise. That's generally how I recommend it for a lot of my coaching students. But if you've been neglecting the triceps, maybe add in extra tricep volume to make up for it, right? If you've been the classic chest and biceps workout in the gym, right? Just trying to work the show off muscles, the chest, biceps, and abs, and you've been neglecting the back and neglecting the triceps, neglecting the legs and all that. Yeah, maybe you want to tweak things around so that you're prioritizing the neglected areas and then putting the overworked areas, the chest and the biceps on maintenance mode for a little while to just create more balance and proportion. But that's something that will certainly help. And if you want a complete system to follow, you can head on over to my website at blastyourbiceps.com. That is an arm specialization program. And even though it's called Blast Your Biceps, it is a full arm specialization program. Like it's biceps and triceps. And in fact, it works the entire body, but the emphasis is on building up the arms because that's what it is. It's an arm specialization program. So if you want to check that out, you can certainly do so. blastyourbiceps.com. You can head over. It's a downloadable ebook program. So you can literally, download it instantly and, start it next week if you want. But that would be a great system to follow. And that's something that I use myself back when I was competing in bodybuilding to try and create more balance and proportion in my physique, because my arms are genetically weaker than the rest of my physique. Like chest, back, legs, they've always responded relatively well. Arms have always lagged behind. So I really had to prioritize my arm training to kind of create more balance. And it's not perfect. I mean, they still lag behind in terms of overall mass, like in proportion to the rest of my physique, but they're a lot better than they were. So, I mean, maybe you have genetically weak arms for whatever reason, and you may never be, supporting 20-inch pythons, but you can always make progress, right? Regardless of your situation, progress is always possible. So, if you're looking for a good plan to follow to help you with that, then I would recommend checking out the Blast Your Biceps program because it specifically targets the situation that you're looking for there. All right, who else we've got? YT joining in. Are you able to still squat and deadlift in your 40s? At what frequency? After one deadlift session, my low back is toast in my old age. Is deadlift even necessary? All right, let's reframe this. I mean, obviously, someone in their 40s is not the same as someone in their 20s, but come on, it's not old age. Christ. I don't want to feel old, right? I know I did an old man workout in the gym earlier this week, but that was a joke, right? I mean, heck, I'm not that old, and I don't think people in their 40s are over the hill, right? Yes, there's changes you need to make. Yes, you need to respect your body more the older you get, and you just can't go in there and mindlessly throw weights around and get away with it like someone in their teens and 20s can. But you can still make progress. You can still deadlift. You can still squat. You can still do all these exercises, but you have to lift within your means, and you have to factor in any aches, pains, and injuries or mobility issues that come along with it. So yeah, you can still do them. Well, I'm not. Let me rephrase that. Most people can still do them. I mean, like everyone's unique. Like some people may have some mobility issues that prevent them from squatting or whatever. But even if you can't squat and deadlift, there's still other exercises that you can do to work the legs and work the back. Like you don't have to get hung up on the exercise or the movement pattern. Focus on working the muscle. So for example, like if squats just they kill your lower back and you find like I just can't do it, my mobility, my balance, I just don't like the exercise for whatever reason. I've tried all kinds of different squat variations and techniques, and it just doesn't feel right. Do I have to squat? No. You could do a leg press. You could do any type of different hack squat machine variations that you have available at the gym. Like at Omega Health and Fitness where I train, they have several different leg press variations. Like there's the standard 45-degree leg press. There's this other Nautilus leg press variation that I really like. They've got several weight stack leg press machines, which are really good as well. A couple of those. And they also have different squat machines. They've got one that's a hip loaded or hack squat. Another one is a shoulder hack squat. They've actually got a couple variations of the shoulder pad hack squat. So you could probably try some different squat variations, whether it's a leg press or hack squat variation or whatever, and still get a good compound movement for the legs that will allow you to hit the same major muscle groups and feel more comfortable and confident doing the movement. So it doesn't have to be a free weight barbell squat, right? You can do other variations instead. Same with the deadlift, right? There's other deadlift variations. I mean, obviously you can do a conventional deadlift or a sumo deadlift or a Romanian deadlift or whatever, but you may have a trap bar deadlift, right? Like if you have the hex-shaped barbell, that very often is more comfortable for a lot of people because it keeps your body more in alignment and you don't have to bend over as far, and put as much stress on the lower back. You could also do partial deadlifts in the power rack, like set the barbell on the safety pin so it's just below the knees and you don't have to go through that deep range of motion, placing as much strain on the lower back, bending over as far. So maybe you can find a deadlift variation that works for you. And if for some reason you can't, it's not the end of the world because there's a gazillion different rowing variations that you can do, from free weight rowing machines to chest supported weight stack rowing machines, T-bar rows, cable rows, whatever. As far as working the lower back, like you can do hyper extensions and different lower back exercises, so you can still hit all those same muscles that are worked with the deadlift with other exercises instead. So bottom line, can you still do them in your 40s? Yes. But if you just don't like them or they cause pain and discomfort, you can choose other exercises instead. Another thing I want to acknowledge here is the frequency. You mentioned that watt frequency. The more advanced you get with your workouts, sometimes you might have to space out the frequency of these big compound lifts. And I'll give you an example. Like I know when I was younger, I used to do benches on chest day, squats on leg day, and deadlifts on back day. And that was kind of like my the bread and butter exercises that I did for years. After a while, I found, man, okay, I just did squats on leg day. Now back day rolls around and I'm doing deadlifts. I found like there was a lot of strain on the back, right? Sometimes like my back would get beat up from doing the squats and then it didn't feel fully recovered by the time I went around to doing deadlifts. So what I did to work around it is I would alternate week for week. So 1 week during leg day, I would do squats. The next week, I would do leg presses or some other leg exercise that didn't load the spine and didn't place as much stress on the back. Same when it came to the back training. 1 week, I would do deadlifts. And then the next week I would do other variations like chest supported rows and different rowing machines and things like that, or maybe some hyper extensions to work the lower back. But I did movements that weren't as stressful on the body as the actual deadlift. And I would alternate them. So the week that I did squats, I would not do deadlifts. The week that I did deadlifts, I would not do squats. So I structured my workout in such a way that I was still hitting all the muscle groups, but I spaced it out. So I was only hitting squats or deadlifts in 1 week. I wasn't doing both in the same week. And I found that when I spaced them out like that and doing them on alternate weeks, it allowed me to recover better and actually feel better and make better progress over the long term. So that's something you might want to look into as well. Like just spacing things out so that you're not squatting and then deadlifting a couple days later. Cause that's, the squats and deadlifts, obviously the squat's a leg exercise, deadlifts back exercise, but they're working the same major muscle groups. It's still the spinal erectors, it's still the glutes and the hamstrings and the quads, like all the major muscle groups there are getting worked with squats and deadlifts. It's just the squat emphasizes more of the lower body, the deadlifts emphasize more of the back, but they're all getting trained. So when you pair up squats and deadlifts back to back, you're basically in the same muscle groups twice in a row. And that may be overkill and you might not feel fully recovered. So spacing it out is a great way to allow you to still do those exercises and make progress. And of course, the older you get, you need to respect your recovery a bit more, right? I'm not saying you're over the hill, and I don't want you to think of yourself as an old age, but just think of yourself as a more mature lifter, and you just want to respect your body more. That's the way to look at it. All right, let's see what else we got there. Have you ever used a leverage squat machine? If so, what are your opinion on it? I think I know the one you're talking about, and I believe some people call them leverage squats. Some people refer to them as hack squat, but I think that's if I'm visualizing the one you're talking about, we actually have that machine at Omega Health and Fitness. And I like it. I mean, it's a nice variation to a regular barbell squat. And the cool thing about squat machines is they keep the movement pattern consistent, so you're kind of, especially for beginners, it's a great way to learn how to do the exercise with fear of toppling over or losing your balance. Because sometimes when people are doing squats, it's just an awkward position, and it's awkward to go through that full range of motion because they got a loaded weight on their shoulders and they're afraid to squat down too deep and afraid they're going to topple over or fall forwards or backwards. So using a squat machine helps to eliminate that, and it may make you feel more confident. So from a beginner's point of view, that's a huge edge. But also from an advanced lifter's point of view, because of that setup, now you can probably push yourself a bit harder than you would with a free weight barbell squat, right? Because you have that extra safety and support from the machine. So yeah, I mean, it's a great machine, and it's another tool in the toolbox, if you will. Right? I'm not saying that it's the best variation. Like there's advantages to free weights, there's advantages to machines, and you want to utilize both in your training. But again, it's another tool in the toolbox. Steve is saying, I remember Vince Gironda saying that overdeveloped lower lats will ruins one V-taper. I think female competitors do this as well. What are your thoughts on developing the low lats? All right. I respect Vince Gironda, and I actually even have one of these old books here somewhere. I don't know where is it? Speak of the devil. There he is. All right. Vince Gironda, right? The Iron Guru. It's a big, meaty one. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Vince Gironda's stuff. Read a lot of his material and that. But I don't agree with everything that he says, right? Like there's a lot of stuff there that take it with a grain of salt. And overdeveloping the lower lats. How many people are truly going to overdevelop any muscle for that matter? Unless you're like a genetic freak and building muscle is easy for you, it's hard to truly overdevelop a muscle. It's hard to develop a muscle, period, let alone overdevelop it. So take that with a grain of salt, right? It's almost like, a woman saying, well, I don't want to start lifting weights because I'm afraid I'm going to get too big. Like whoever was lifting weights and then all of a sudden woke up and said like, holy shit, how did this happen? I gained 50 pounds of muscle and I didn't want to, right? where did this all come from? Right? No, it doesn't just sneak up on you. And so the idea of overdeveloping a muscle, I really, I don't think that's possible, because if it were even happening, like you started working and building your body, and you start, okay, certain body parts are responding faster than others. If you're aware of it and you're in tune and you're actually monitoring your results, you can adjust it. So you say, oh, you know what? My back is really responding, right? Those lats are filling out and I think it's getting too big, which, again, we can argue that it's no such thing as having a back that's too big or whatever, because especially from a bodybuilding point of view, like the saying in bodybuilding is the show is won from the back. And more often than not, the guy with the biggest back, usually places the highest. But yeah, getting back to it, like if you do find that it's getting too big, just modify your workouts and slack off, and then prioritize the weaker muscle groups. Like I mentioned before, the things that are going well and responding well, put them on a maintenance program. And the areas that are struggling and you need more emphasis, put them on a prioritization program and give them more emphasis while the other stuff is put on the back burner. So, I really don't think people are going to overdevelop the lower lats to a great degree. That, again, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's saying, well, I've got massive lower lats and I want to get rid of them. But, that's probably, the one in a million. Most people are probably the complete opposite. Don't have big enough lower lats. As far as female competitors doing this, I mean, the biggest difference you'll find with female, especially in the bodybuilding world, because my wife's a former national level figure competitor and provincial bodybuilder. Like, she's won the overall title and in bodybuilding and figure at the local level. She went on to compete at the regionals. She won the overall at the Atlantics in the mid 2000s, and she competed on the national stage in 2012, I believe it was. So it's a while back, but I'm familiar with how a female's physique responds in comparison to a male's. And what you find with a lot of female competitors is it's almost like two different physiques connected at the waist. Like in the upper body, sometimes they can get ultra shredded, like six-pack abs and definition, and from the waist up, they're like, wow. And in the lower body, they really struggle. And that's hormonal issues. Like, women naturally carry more weight in their hips and thighs and in that area, whereas men tend to carry it in the gut, the spare tire. So that's a major difference. Like, women don't usually carry that roll of belly fat like men do. Now, if she gains enough weight, she's going to have a roll of belly fat. Don't get me wrong, but it's more common for women to have the hips and thighs and the lower body weight and struggle in that area. So I've seen it before where like a female could literally have six-pack abs and cellulite on her hips and thighs. Like that drastic difference. And vice versa. I've seen it with guys where someone could literally have a roll of fat, on their gut. And then from the legs down, right, they could have quad separation. They flex their quads and you see the teardrop and the cuts in their legs because there's like not an ounce of fat in the legs. They got it all stored around the gut. So that's the main difference between males and females, is how they distribute their fat storage. But as far as females having too big a lower lats, I really haven't seen it. I can't say that is a major problem. I don't think you're going to, at the end of a competition, if they go to the judges and looking, give me some feedback on my physique, I don't think many judges are going to say, well, the problem with your physique is your lats are too wide, right? No, I don't think that's going to be if anything, it would be the opposite, right? I don't think that is a major issue for a lot of people, right? So if that was a problem that Vince Gironda had, well, to him, right? Like, again, like as I mentioned, there was a lot of stuff that he had, his concepts and stuff that I read about in this big meaty Vince Gironda book that I agreed with, but there was some stuff I'm like, man, this guy's out to lunch. Like, there was one thing that I'm not sure where it's to exactly, but it's in this book where he talks about don't drink water during your workouts, right? It's going to hinder fat burning and all. Like, what the frig, man? Like, don't drink water. Let yourself get dehydrated during your training. I mean, obviously, if you dehydrate yourself, you may temporarily look sharper because you're just dehydrated, but that's not helping fat burning and it's not helping muscle growth or anything else. So that was one of the things. Like, he would not let his gym members drink water during their workouts, right? No. He also advocated smoking cigarettes to help curb your appetite. And I don't recommend that either, right? So, there's a lot of stuff that some of these old timers did that, yeah, they did it, but I wouldn't recommend duplicating it. All right. So again, take it with a grain of salt. All right, moving on. What else we got there? Mark is joining in. Hello, Mark. Says, is the best way to lose weight when endomorphic, a low carbohydrate meal plan with high enough proteins and fats, or can this still be achieved through weightlifting and cardio and a calorie deficit with standard ratios? All right, let's break this down. First off, don't get too hung up in, oh, I'm an endomorph, I'm a mesomorph, I'm an ectomorph, I'm a, whatever morph. It's the same stuff applies regardless. It's just, what is your natural body type and tendency? Sure, there's going to be some people who are heavier set, the shorter, stockier people, than the taller, skinnier people, and then the kind of the people in the middle, right? You're going to, that's just your natural genetics. But as far as making changes to your physique, whether you want to build muscle, lose fat, or improve athletic performance, the same overall principles apply. It's just that someone who is naturally a tall, lean, slender person is probably going to achieve that quicker and easier in terms of the weight loss side of things. And someone who is, naturally heavier and shorter and stockier is probably going to achieve faster gains in terms of strength and muscle. And it's just their genetic tendencies, but the same principles apply. It's not like this is the endomorph program, this is the ectomorph program, this is the mesomorph program. Like it really doesn't apply that. It's the same principles apply in all situations. So with that being said, first off, lay the foundation. Regardless of your body type, you want to be doing weightlifting, you want to be doing cardio. Like, do not try and just achieve a body weight loss or recomposition through diet alone. If you just cut your calories, yeah, you'll lose weight, but a lot of that weight is going to come from lean mass. So like you see people who go on a diet, and you especially see this more so with women than you do with men, but you do see it with men occasionally as well, where they're like, I'm just going to go on a crash diet and lose all the weight. And then when I lose all the weight, then I'm going to start working out to build muscle. Well, when you're doing that crash diet to lose the weight, yeah, you're losing weight, all right, but a good chunk of that weight is coming from lean muscle, because the weight training is what's going to stimulate the muscle and give your body a reason to maintain it and even gain it, because you can actually gain muscle while losing body fat, especially if you've got a lot of weight to lose, because you'll be fueling your workouts not just from the food you eat, but from the fuel that's stored in your body, i.e. the fat. Like, you'll tap into fat reserves to fuel your exercise. And then you can actually, in a weird sort of way, turn the fat to muscle. Now, I'm not saying that one tissue becomes another, but I'm saying the energy that you burn through body fat can be then used in weight training in the gym, which can then help to fuel muscle growth, if that makes sense. So it's not like one turns into the other, but you got to look at the energy you're burning in the gym, and that's fueling your workouts. It's not just coming from dietary sources. It's also coming from body fat sources as well. So you want to be doing weight training. You want to be doing cardio. That should be the foundation, right? That should be there regardless, right? So have that in there first, right? Boom. You need to have that foundation, because we want to be maximizing your metabolism. We want to be stimulating muscle growth, and we want to be burning body fat. Then you want to follow it up with good, sound nutrition. And I would recommend starting off with a balanced meal plan. So ideally, equal ratios of protein, carbs, and fat. So if you're looking for the perfect ratios, this is how I would break it down. First off, what is your ideal body weight? What is it you want to weigh? Just throw out a number. Let's say your target goal is 200 pounds. Right? Maybe you're 250 pounds now, and you say, you know what, I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to be lean and muscular 200 pounds. Great. Okay, that's our target. Let's have 1 gram of protein per pound of our ideal goal weight. So 200 pounds is our goal weight. We're going to eat 200 grams of protein. And we're going to match that with 200 grams of carbohydrates, right? Because protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. They're both equal. You want equal ratios of protein, equal ratios of carbohydrates. So we're going to have 200 grams protein, 200 grams of carbs. Fat has 9 calories per gram. It's twice as calorie dense as protein and carbs. So we're going to have approximately 85, 90 grams of fat thereabouts. So, I mean, if somebody wants to break out a calculator and crunch the numbers exactly, they can. But 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, 85-ish grams of fat, somewhere like that. That will give you an equal ratio of 1/3 of your calories from protein, 1/3 of your calories from fat, 1/3 of your calories from carbs. Well balanced. Start with that. That's a good place to start. Then after you've been doing that for a while, if needed, we can manipulate it, based on how your body responds, right? Like some people do prefer a slightly lower carbohydrate, slightly higher protein and fat. It's kind of personal preference. But I find when you keep things in balance and proportion, this works the best for most people because you'll have enough protein to build and sustain your muscle, right? Because you need that. Like protein is so important for not only muscle building, but for fat loss, right? It'll increase your metabolism, increases the rate of thermogenesis. It's more satiating, it's more filling. You need to have the protein, right? I can do a whole hour-long talk on protein alone, but just trust me, you need the protein. You also need adequate carbohydrates because if you go on this crazy low-carb cutting diet, what happens is your energy tanks, right? You start to feel flat and depleted and your blood sugar goes down. And a lot of times it's it's just like that's your high octane fuel source. And if you don't have that carbohydrate in there, it's hard to train in the gym. It's hard to stay motivated. And in fact, there was actually studies done. I was reading about this, not reading about it, but listening to it on different podcasts where your blood sugar has a huge impact on your motivation levels, right? So like if you're always in this low carb, low blood sugar state, your motivation and your desire to push yourself in the gym is down as well. Like a lot of people just like, oh, I don't feel like going to the gym today. Maybe it's because you're running on empty. That's your body's way of telling you that don't push yourself in the gym because you've got no fuel in reserve. So having adequate carbohydrates in your system actually allows you to train harder and burn more and build more when you're in the gym. So I'm not a fan of these crazy low carb cutting diets. Yeah, you can lose weight in the short term fairly quickly, but it's not enjoyable or sustainable, and it's certainly not going to aid with your training and your athletic performance. So we want to have enough carbohydrates to fuel your training so you can push yourself, build the muscle, burn the fat, but not so much that you have excess that's spilling over and getting stored as excess body fat. So again, that's why we keep, protein, carbs, keep them at equal ratios. And then the fat, you want to have adequate fat in there as well, because fat helps to satiate your appetite as well. It's also good for hormone production. And it also helps with a lot of things within the body, like joint lubrication and nutrition, because a lot of vitamins are fat-soluble vitamins, and it helps with that. So like when you throw your when you throw your macros out of ratio, it F's up your body. Like you see this when people say, oh, I'm going on this crazy low carb cutting diet. They feel like crap, right? And then vice versa. Someone say, oh, that's it. I'm going on this crazy low fat cutting diet, right? I'm going to go all protein, carbs, and super low fat. And that messes with it. And then you get the vegans who are saying, well, it's not the carbs, it's not the fat, it's that pesky old animal protein. So let's cut all that animal protein out and we just eat all carbs and fat. And that F's up your metabolism and F's up your body. Like when you eat in balance and proportion, like it sounds so ridiculously simple. Wow, eat a well-balanced diet. Duh, who would have thought of that? But when you eat a well-balanced diet, it actually freaking works. And this took me years to figure out. And I actually wrote a whole blog post about it. Like this was a journey of 15 plus years of trial and error while I was competing in bodybuilding, trying all the different fads and stuff. Like, when it started off, it was the high protein, high carb, low fat. And then it was the high protein, low carb, high fat. And then it was, the vegan plant-based diets, where it's all carbs, all fat, low protein. And I trying all these different plans, looking for the silver bullet, right? What's the one that's going to give me the magic formula? And then I came back to like, how about we just eat a well-balanced diet, right? Natural unprocessed foods, getting equal ratios of protein, carbs, and fat. I'm like, holy crap, I actually feel better. I got more energy and I'm making better results. Like, duh. So that's what I recommend, Mark. Like, don't go on these looking for the quick fix. Look for sustainability and laying that foundation. And even within our whole Muscle After 40 blueprint, like we have a system laid out for this. And this is what I've basically explained here. This is phase 1, the metabolic reboot, where we focus on optimizing your metabolism with proper nutrition, proper exercise habits, getting everything fire on all 8 cylinders, get your body functioning so that it's healthy and operating properly, optimizing your metabolism and your metabolic and anabolic hormones. And then by getting healthy, you indirectly lose the fat, right? We want to get healthy so that we can lose the fat, not lose the fat and hoping that indirectly that's going to help us get healthy. It's the opposite way around. All right. So focus on health and performance, and then the fat loss will follow. And if you want some help with this, like to really brainstorm it and break it down in more detail, because I know I'm scratching the surface here. Like there's so many layers we can peel back to go deeper. But if you want to discuss this in more detail, feel free to reach out to me. Like say, I got my details down below. You can actually book in for a strategy session call, and we can discuss this and, map out an action plan for you. All right, who else we got there? We've got Ray joining in. Welcome, Ray. Glad to have you. We have Josanne joining in, loud and clear. Welcome. Absolutely hysterical. Indeed, age is not a number. Or, yeah, you're talking about that old man video. Just a number. Got here there. What else we got there? How has your training went this week, and what did you do? My training went actually pretty well this week. I had 4 weight training workouts this week, which was good. And the reason I had, normally I usually do about 3 weight training workouts per week. But this week, the weather sucks. Right? It was cold. It's windy. It's rainy. It's, we even had snow earlier in the week. So we're right in that transition from, in that fall to winter where it's just not really pleasant to be outside. So I did a lot more indoor training. Like if it was earlier in the summer, I would have probably spent more hours out on the bike, right? But this week I had 4 good weight training workouts. And I also did that old man workout, which that wasn't counted as a workout. That was done in between an actual, we did our full workout, and then I put on the mask and did a spoof workout afterwards. So don't think that was my training for the day. But yeah, it went well. And my wife joined me, so we work out together. And the way our training goes is in the morning when we get Harvey to school and, just take care of a few errands and stuff. And I usually have myself my breakfast and a cup of coffee and, get a few things that I need to done out of the way, work chores. And then we head to the gym in the morning, get our workout done. And then we come home, have lunch. And then I usually work throughout the afternoon until Harvey gets home from school. So I like to do my workout mid-morning, and I find that is an awesome time to train if you can schedule it. Like my schedule allows for that, which is awesome. But mid-morning, say like around 10 a.m., the gym is empty. It's almost like a private gym most of the time because it's after the early morning rush. The people are trying to get in there at 6 a.m. to get their workouts done before they go to work. And it's well ahead of the afternoon rush. There's 2 big rush hours at the gym, right? You got the smaller rush hour is the early morning before work, and then the big rush hour is say like from 4 p.m. onwards after work. And I try to avoid the gym at those peak hours because it just gets a bit busy and you might have to be waiting on machines or not be able to use what you like. So mid-morning I find is the sweet spot, right? I get in there, I got my pick of the gym and I really enjoy it. So that's how my training has went this week. And it was quite productive. I got to say, it went well. Felt good about it. All right, let's see what else we got there. Okay. Steve is just clarifying his question there. He's the one who had the question about the lower lats. He said, I meant females avoid overworking their low lats. All right. That's what I've read. So that means they need to spend more time working their lats, which is the complete opposite of what I was kind of acknowledging. Like I mentioned, nobody's going to get criticized from a physique judge saying, oh, I think your over lats were too big. No, if anything, they're going to say your lats are not big enough. And that I think would apply for both men and women, right? Like a skinny back, it's not an attractive look for a man or a woman. Like, it's nice to have that natural V taper and the proper muscle development in the right places. Yeah, so yeah, I would not avoid the lat training, regardless of what old Vince Duranda used to say. What else we got there? Josanne saying, I was wondering how many meals should I eat to gain weight? It's not really how many meals you should eat. It's you should be eating in a caloric surplus. I mean, you can vary the meals depending on your schedule and your preferences. The general rule of thumb, eat at least your 3 squares a day, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then ideally, you would want to throw in probably some snacks throughout the day based on when you need that food. So this is my general template, right? Like on a normal average day, I'm going to have my breakfast, going to have my lunch, going to have my dinner, right? And there's a spaced out. Those are normal. I also like to have a small meal slash snack before bed. I don't like going to bed on an empty stomach. Now, some people do, and they find it works great for them. I don't. If I go to bed on an empty stomach, I'm waking up like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. My belly's growling, and I'm raiding the fridge at 1 or 2 a.m. looking for something to eat. Whereas if I go to bed with a snack in my belly at the start, I can sleep comfortably through the night. So, and this also works good from spacing out your food. So, obviously, breakfast, a few hours later, have your lunch, a few hours later, have your dinner, and then a few hours later after that, have a snack before bed, right? Like it's in that 3 to 4 hour range or so between meals. Like that's ideal. And then when it comes to your training, ideally you want to probably eat around that training window as well, especially if your goal is to gain weight. Like a pre-workout meal, like have something an hour before your workout so that you're not running on empty. And then even intra-workout, you can have something like branched chain amino acids or maybe an amino acid and a carbohydrate drink throughout the workout so that you're providing steady nutrition to your body as you're in the gym training. And then afterwards, you want to make sure that you're getting a good post-workout meal. Now, if your post-workout meal lines up with one of your regular meals, that's great. Like for me, breakfast is like my pre-workout meal. Then I go to the gym. During the gym training, I'm going to have amino acids. If it's something more energy demanding, I'm going to have amino acids and carbohydrates. Like if I'm going for a big bike ride, I always put amino acids and carb powder in my bottles. And then afterwards, my next meal is usually my lunch. So lunch is my post-workout meal and just kind of fits that schedule. But if your regular meals throughout the day doesn't fit your post-workout, then you probably want to have something post-workout, whether that's like a protein shake and a piece of fruit or something. But you want to bridge, the food around when you need it. So especially, when you're active during those workouts, something pre-workout, something intra-workout, something post-workout to really help funnel those nutrients into the muscles when they need them the most. And then the rest of the time, you just want to keep steady nutrition. And the big one, of course, is not just the frequency and how much or how many meals, but what you're actually eating. Protein is fundamental. Protein with every single meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Make sure there is protein in there. Protein is the building block for muscle tissue. A biggest mistake I see a lot of people make is, I have protein with my dinner, but breakfast is coffee and a bagel. Lunch is, a sandwich, and snacks are, something out of the vending machine or a coffee and a donut or whatever. And dinner, we have a piece of meat for dinner. We have meat and vegetables and whatever the wife makes, the family dinner, right? The meat and potatoes meal at dinner. And then that's it. So they have like one meal where they get a decent serving of protein. And then the rest of the day, they're getting, jack shit in the way of protein. If your goal is to maximize muscle and to maximize your athletic performance, you want protein throughout the day, not just with your dinner. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snacks, make sure there's protein in there. And it's not that hard to do. Like I know a lot of people make a big deal like, it's so hard to get protein. Like these days you can have protein and meal replacement bars, which have, a generous serving of protein. You got protein powders, which are available everywhere, and there's easy ways to do it. Like I made a video earlier showing like, hey, you can mix up protein in your coffee in the morning. So if you're a coffee drinker, you can have high protein coffee. And if you do it right, mix it up properly, it actually tastes almost like a French vanilla cappuccino. So it can actually be enjoyable and a little treat as well as a serving of protein. There's so many ways to bump up your protein intake throughout the day. It doesn't have to be this big daunting task that a lot of people make it out to be. Like to get a gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight should be relatively easy. Now, I'm not saying it's still going to take some planning and preparation. Don't get me wrong, but it's not this monumental, impossible task. It should be relatively easy if you make the right choices. And that's the most important thing, right? Just making sure that you're fueling your workouts. And another thing I'm going to point out here, which is kind of like the other extreme, don't force yourself to gain weight through food. We had someone a while back. For those of you who are regulars to the chat, you may remember there was a guy a few months back was posting about these stupid bulking diets, saying like, "Oh, I'm eating 2,000 calorie surplus every day and trying to get in 8,000 calories," or like all these ridiculous numbers. Now, I don't know if he was just shooting shit and trying to stir up controversy in the comments or what, but some people take that approach where they try and force themselves to gain weight by just shoveling in more food. And yeah, you'll gain weight all right, but it's not quality weight. Like once you top up your glycogen stores and once you have your body topped up, guess where the rest goes? It's not like it magically spills over into lean muscle. No, it gets spilled over into excess body fat. Right? You only need to eat enough to fuel your training and to recover from your workouts. That's it. Like, don't think I'm going to, if I eat an extra 1,000 calories and I end up gaining, a pound or two a week, that's going to be magically a pound or two of lean mass. A small portion of it will be lean mass and the rest is going to be body fat. And yeah, the weight goes up, the scale goes up, and you fill out and you look bigger in your clothes. But when it comes time to diet down afterwards and try to lose all that layer of blubber, you're probably not going to be any bigger than you were before you started, right? So you just need a very slight calorie surplus. Even calorie maintenance is enough to build lean muscle because you can achieve a body recomposition where you're building lean muscle while burning body fat simultaneously. But if your goal is to have that scale go up, you just want a very slight surplus. And I'm talking like 10%, like a 10% surplus. So throw out some real world numbers. If you're normally eating 3,000 calories a day, a 10% surplus, that's 3,300. Like it's not astronomical. It's not like you got to be slamming back an extra 1,000 calories a day. Like literally a 200 or 300 calorie surplus could be enough to just tip you over the edge so that you have enough calories to recover and grow and that you're not in a deficit, so that your training progress is not hindered from a calorie deficit. And that will be enough to make progress. Like that's what you got to look at it. It's just eat enough to get the job done, but not try and overkill it, which is what a lot of people do. They have this all or nothing extreme approach. Like, when I'm bulking, I got to go on a big bulk, right? Or when I'm cutting, I got to go on a big cut. No, you don't need extremes. You just need to do enough to get the job done, right? And again, this is where having a coach in your corner can really help, because a lot of times when I'm working with my coaching students, I'm holding back the reins because they're trying to do way the hell too much. Like they're trying to diet too strict, or they're trying to kill themselves and do too much in the gym. And I think, no, hold on there, Tiger. Like, we're not trying to sprint our way through a marathon here. We're looking at doing this sustainably over the long term. So sometimes I got to rein them back in and say, you know what? We're going to pace ourselves, because we're not trying to sprint to the finish and burn ourselves out and quit. We're trying to keep going day after day, week after week, month after month, and make this a lifestyle, something that you can sustain and enjoy, and not just burn the candle at both ends. And then within a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever, you're fizzled and fried and you say, screw this, it's not worth it, and quit, which is what most people do, right? We need to pace ourselves. All right. Gee, how are we doing? There's a lot more questions coming through here. And you know what? We're already well over the hour mark. So there's no way. I just heads up. All the regulars know this. There's no way I'm getting all the questions today. But just to let you know, if I did not get to your question and you do want some help, reach out to me. Whether you're watching this through Facebook, you can message me through Facebook Messenger. If you're watching on YouTube, you can friend me up on Facebook as well. You can have both accounts, but open up the description below and my email address is there. If there's a question that you really want an answer to and I didn't get to it, drop me a line and I'll do my best to help you out. But just a heads up, I'm not getting all these questions tonight. I'm going to take a couple more though, and then we'll clue it up. Let's see. JKS saying, I've been doing your push-pull legs routine from a few years ago, about a month now. I recently added shrugs on leg day. Feel shoulders needed it. What are your thoughts? That's fine. Yeah, if you feel that you want to add in some extra shrug work for the traps, that's totally cool. And it doesn't matter if it's done on leg day or whatever day. Like, the bottom line is that you're just training the muscles, and it's not like your body has this. It's not like your muscles have minds that say, well, oh, well, if he works shoulders on the same day that he works legs, well, I'm not going to grow. It responds to stimulation. So yeah, you can throw in shrugs on leg day if you feel that works for you, and a little bit of extra stimulation, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And the cool thing about shrugs is it's such a small movement. Even though you can lift relatively heavy weight, it's not stressful on your central nervous system. Like if you do a set of shrugs to failure, you're not going to be gasping for air or exhausted the same as if you did a set of squats to failure or a set of deadlifts to failure. So shrugs are one of those small muscle groups. Like if you feel you need some extra stimulation there, feel free to throw it in. Same with calves. Calves are kind of fall into this category as well. Like if you need to do some extra calf work, throw in some extra calf work. Like it's not going to cause you to overtrain because you did an extra set of calf raises. Same, you're not going to overtrain because you did an extra set of shrugs, right? It's a small muscle, even though it is heavy and you do feel the muscle burn and all that. Like it's not stressful on the central nervous system, and it's not going to have a big impact in your overall recovery. So yeah, if you want to throw in some extra shrugs, there's nothing wrong with that. Andy's asking thoughts on Hindu squats. I used to do Hindu squats a while back. I remember back in the day, Matt Fury, he was quite popular. I'm sure he's still around, but he must be, getting up there in years, because he wasn't a young man when I was following him. This was 20 years ago. But Matt Fury was the guy I first heard about Hindu squats from. He had, books and courses and stuff like that, and popular in the early days of the internet. But he was one in Hindu squats, Hindu push-ups, and that kind of stuff. And it's a cool exercise. Like I've done them. I even have some of my workout videos and like some of my home body weight workouts and stuff where we incorporated Hindu squats. It's basically just another squat variation. But the thing about Hindu squats is it really helps to isolate the quadricep more. Whereas regular flat-footed squats, it engages more hamstrings and glutes. Hindu squats is almost like a more quad-dominant, quad-isolated squat variation. And for those of you who are wondering, what the hell are a Hindu squat? It's basically doing squats on your tippy toes. So, of course, you can go on the Google machine and type in Hindu squats and you'll see it. But it's basically doing squats on your tippy toes, and you squat down all the way so that your calves and hamstrings touch and you're up on the balls of your feet. So it's very quad isolated. And this was the way squats were done back in the old days, the old days of physical culture and fitness. Before the invention of squat racks, people did their squats on their tippy toes. They did Hindu squats. This was the original squat. The idea of flat foot squats is a relatively new thing within the last 100 years. But before that, everybody did squats on their tippy toes because it was more of a quad isolated exercise. And you actually got more of a burn in the quads from doing it that way. So body weight squats on the balls of the feet was very popular. And again, the regular flat-footed squat that we see, that's, in the physical culture game, is a relatively new exercise, right? So that's that's the OG of squats right there, is the Hindu squat. But yeah, again, it's just another squat variation. I'm not saying there's anything magical about it. It's just another tool in the toolbox, right? Let's see what else we got. Jose is listening while working out. Good for you. Building the body and educating the mind all at one. Much appreciated. Craig saying, great advice. Thanks for encouraging me to build back my base after my heart attack. I was a little scared, but finally started back going light, even though my ego said differently. Glad I listened to you. Thanks. Kudos, Craig. I mean, I know that's actually, I don't know. I've never had a heart attack, but I can imagine that is a major life-shattering setback. Like that's a big kick to the nuts right there in terms of like, whoa, this is a wake-up call, right? We need to take care of our body, and we need to really focus on it. And I've even had some of my coaching students, like one guy in particular, I did a video interview with and regular on our Muscle After 40 Blueprint, Paul Miller. He had a heart attack and almost cost him his life. And that was his wake-up call, that he needed to make a change. And I know he shared a lot of stories about it. And it's just, man, it's scary, but it's good at the same time, because if he didn't have that heart attack, he probably wouldn't have, had the gumption to turn his life around. And in Paul's case, I remember he told the story of when he was in the ER at the hospital and they revived him after the heart attack. The emergency room doctor grabbed him by his hand, looked him in the eye, and said, "The universe has given you a gift. It's giving you a second chance at life. What are you going to do with it?" And he said those words just burned right to his core, because here he was neglecting his health and fitness, 70 pounds overweight, never exercised, ate like crap, like just totally did not give a shit about his health. Like he admits that he totally neglected it. And then after that, he's just like, that was the slap in the face wake up call. Like, man, I got to do something different. And that's when he started down the path of health and fitness. And now not only has he transformed his own life, but now he's helping others. And he actually runs his own fitness group through his local church. They call it Fitness with Friends. And he has a local fitness class teaching seniors how to improve their exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle habits through simple, practical strategies. So he's kind of like taking the stuff that he's learned through working with me in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program and kind of modified it to a seniors audience. And people love it. Like, he has a massive group of people, like sometimes 30 plus people at a time attending his Fitness with Friends classes that he does through his local church. And I just think, man, what a transformation from totally neglecting your own health and fitness and on your deathbed to now being this light and role model for others. And the fact that he's went through that journey is actually so much more powerful, because people can relate to him. Like, people can say, well, man, if you can do it, if you can come back after that, and there's nothing special about you. I mean, he started in his mid 60s, right? Never stepped foot inside a gym until he was in his mid 60s. So it's not like, oh, he's some genetically gifted athlete who worked out his whole life. No, the guy was 60 odd years old, never even stepped foot inside a gym before. Now he's pushing 70 and in the best shape of his life and leading others by example. So it just goes to show that progress is possible regardless of age, and you're never too old to make a change, right? Because I know I get this all the time. People saying, oh, I'm in my 30s. Am I too old? I'm in my 40s. Am I too old? Or I'm in my 50s. Am I too old? Paul was in his 60s, and started then, and he made a life-changing transformation. And now, pushing 70, he's going to be 70 on his birthday. He's in the best shape of his life. So, progress is possible. You just need to, ignore all the noise. Start now. Just start now and focus on doing better than you did before, taking it day by day. And again, starting off light, going through the basics, master the basics. Master the basics and just focus on being better than you were before. Better than you were before. Good enough, but good enough consistently. Like, it doesn't have to be this extreme, daunting task. Like, sometimes people make fitness and nutrition so big that they don't even want to start. But if you can make it small, like so small, like, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to put on my sneakers. I'm going to walk up the road for 5 minutes and turn around and walk back. That's my workout for today. That's fine. Do it. That's how I started, right? Like, start small. When it comes to your meals, like, instead of thinking, oh, what's the best ratios of protein, carbs, and fat? And so do I need to go keto? Do I need to go carnivore? Do I need to intermittent fast? How about I just try and get an extra serving of vegetables in today? That's it. How about I try to get, make sure I get some protein with each meal? That's it. Like, start small. Like, sometimes the ridiculously small steps done consistently produce way better results than some massive overhaul that is done inconsistently. Again, consistently good versus occasionally great. And this is something that's so hard to wrap your head around, because in the fitness industry, everybody has this go big or go home mentality. And we see all this bullshit on social media where people are posting the extreme diets and training programs, and you think, oh man, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But, like, could you have an extra serving of protein today? Could you have an extra serving of vegetables today? Could you go for a 10-minute walk on your lunch break today? Yes. Anybody can do that. So start with that. Start with stuff that you can actually do, and then just focus on building that. Get better than you were before, and let that little stuff compound, right? Like, just get 1% better each day, and then let that progress. And then if you do that, it's amazing where it can lead. Like, think of if you just got 1% better each day, and you did that day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, where would you be this time next year, or in 3 years, or in 5 years from now. Like, it could be a life-changing transformation, but it wouldn't feel overwhelming, right? And again, this is how we've structured the whole Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching programs. We take people through this journey in real time. And it's exciting to see, just to see people who they go through it and then they look back afterwards and they're like, holy smokes, like, look at the progress I just made, but it didn't feel overwhelming to make that progress. It was actually an enjoyable journey. And it didn't feel like I was forcing it. I was just enjoying the process and living healthier lifestyle habits. And then they see the progress just compound over time, right? So that's what I want for you, Craig. I mean, I want you to go through that same journey again and come back from this stronger than ever. Again, heck, if you want, go watch that video of Paul Miller, right? To see how he transformed after having his heart attack, right? I mean, as devastating as it was at the time, it was actually a gift, because that was his wake-up call to turn things around. And hopefully it can be the same for you. All right, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure there's mostly gentlemen here, but there might be a few ladies watching as well. But I'm going to get ready and clue this up. And again, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the support. I mean, I always enjoy doing these video chats and having a chance to chat and share. But obviously, all good things have to come to an end. I have to clue it up for the evening. So if there's anything that you would like to discuss regarding, the questions that you might have posted if I didn't get around to them, feel free to reach out to me. Just copy and paste your questions, send it over to me in a messenger or an email, and we can chat through there. And in the meantime, the replay of this is going to be posted up, so you can go back and review it. And I'll be back here again next week, same time, same place, with another live Q&A. And one more thing I forgot to mention. If you haven't already done so, head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group and request to join, because that's a way that we can keep the conversation going throughout the week. Right? We've got a good group of guys over there. Right now, I think there's over 1,000 members over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. If you just go on Facebook and type in Total Fitness Bodybuilding or Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding, it'll pop up there. Request to join the group. And that's a great way to stay in touch throughout the week and just keep that positive environment, that positive flow of energy going. And of course, you can ask questions and get support, and we can discuss your workouts and training and nutrition strategies through there as well. So it's a great way to keep the conversation going throughout the week in between these live video chats. All right, I'm going to clue it up. Have yourself a fantastic day, a fantastic weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out.